Well, Marion and Dahlia, how nice of you to have brought such a good work of art by a woman artist whose work we all admire terribly. Her name right here is Jean Kloss. She was one of the earliest artists ever to be asked to join the National Academy of Design. You are first an associate. It's an elected process. And women typically were not included very often. In addition to the signature right here, we have 3 letters, which is IMP. IMP is abbreviation for the Latin word impressat. It helps our understanding to know that she then conceived the subject matter, drew on the metal plate, and subsequently printed it herself. So this composition is 100% of her making. No one else intervened to assist her. So that's what we've learned by just looking at the signature and noticing the 3 letters.
I see.
And yet, would you like to tell me how you came to own this wonderful piece?
My husband bought this before we were married in Santa Fe.
Oh, okay.
So he was living in New Mexico, and we've been very fond of it, and I'm just delighted to learn more about it.
She died in 1996, so she's been gone for a little while. She was born 93 years earlier than that, so she had a nice long run. And in fact, the next thing I want to point out is the title of this aqua tint. Normally this composition, which is called Penitente Fires, would also have dry point engraving as part of the medium. But because this Roman numeral 2 follows the title of the print, we now know that it is a 2nd edition. Because the first edition was an edition of 50. The numbering here suggests that there are just 15 of the 2nd edition. When you are printing dry point engraving, what happens is you are gouging a line into the metal plate with a metal tool. When that happens, the cavity that results kicks up a spur of metal on either side of that trough or that canal. And when it runs through it's inked and runs through the press, instead of a sharp line, you get a furry line. And if we were to see the earlier printing of this Penitente Fires, the dry point engraving would have created some furry lines here, and on a couple of the figures. And that would have made the image more visually dynamic.
I see.
And that's why there is some prejudice with respect to value for the 2nd edition versus the 1st edition.
I see.
So, wouldn't you like to know?
I'd love to know.
Okay, all right.
I can't wait.
Had this been the 1st edition of the printing, you would have been easily looking at, if you were selling it, roughly $10,000.
I see.
Which is no small feat for work on paper that's a unique original. The 2nd edition, however, you're looking at closer to around $5,000. I see. Which is still, I would bet, considerably more than your husband paid.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
But it's a very favored image by this artist. It's looked at with a great deal of respect, and still it's a very wonderful piece of work.
That's very exciting to know that.
Oh, good.
My.
I'm glad you're pleased, because, I mean, foremost that you love it, because that's what we want. Jean Kloss is very special, and we're lucky you brought it today.
Thank you. I just
Arizona Collectibles, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. That's wonderful.